Welcome to Fortune Forecast. I am Daisy and you are in my book playlist. In this video, we continue on with the book titled The Heart of the New Thought, written by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. It is in the public domain. If you're new to my channel and just caught us at this video and would like to get the previous chapters, please go to the book playlist and you'll access it there. And if you want to jump right into the next chapters, just go to the description and there's a timestamp. Otherwise, hang out here for a minute for the narrator's comments. Also, for our Fortune community, I want to just take the time to say thank you so much for being a part of this community and subscribing. All right, so in the previous chapters, I had two takeaways. One was the concept of building character and the idea that it must be done alone. Yes, I do agree with that 100%. While we do it alone, it is also the help of the trials and the challenges and the people that come into our lives that help us build that character if we so choose to anchor up versus laying blame to circumstances. I like her analogy of that the ground must be cleansed of debris, meaning we must eliminate our preconceived thoughts, our limitations, our blocks and fears. And that is done through self-analysis. And then, as she said, the structure must be erected stone by stone, and that it is a slow, hard process. And I like how she mentioned that it is a slow process. I'm sure many of you have heard or read about the book titled The Secret, where most of these philosophies were coming from some of these foundations. Yet a lot of people thought it was you wish it and it happens, but there is way more to it. Just like when I do private consultation with tarot, things come up. Usually people will ask me, okay, well, I have a question about this. And then I ask their permission and I say, well, can we see what's lying here behind all that? And usually we find out that while a person might be thinking or they want an answer to a certain question, it turns out that there was even a deeper question. I am not a psychiatrist nor a therapist, but I've been doing tarot for 30 years. And with that comes experience and the ability to understand, to ask better questions, to help people get to what they are looking for. And so here it is, expecting instant results when it's taken us a lifetime to either put on the weight, metaphorically and perhaps even physically. And just as the same, to develop new habits and to become aware when we are falling back into those processes, and not to shame ourselves for falling back, but to applaud ourselves for realizing that we have and having the courage to get back up. The other one was from her chapter on conquest. And she brought something up that sounded like a saying that I believe Mahatma Gandhi has been coined for, which if we want to see the change, we must be the change in the world. And pretty much she said, we must change ourselves before we can change material conditions. And that we must also heal our own thoughts. Saying that we must make ourselves over so that we can obtain what we look for by obtaining control of our minds and our emotions. And through that, hopefully, we can influence the circumstances and our health. In her very floral words, she is able to inspire me to stop and really think about what she is laying out before us. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Let's move on now to the next chapter. Concentration. The new thought includes concentration of thought in its teaching, and he who learns the art is not liable to frequently forget small or large duties. It is he who scatters instead of concentrates his mind powers, who keeps himself and others in a state of continual irritation by forgetting, mislaying, and losing three petty vices which do much to mar domestic or business life. Concentration is a most difficult acquirement for the mature mind, which has been allowed to grow in the habit of thought scattering. Wise is the mother, and as sure as wise, who teaches her child to finish each task begun before attempting another, for that is the first step in concentration. Prentice Mulford, that great and good pioneer in the field of practical new thought, tells us to apply our whole mental powers to whatever we do, even if it is merely the tying of a shoe, and to think of nothing else until that shoe is tied, then to utterly forget the shoestring when we turn to another duty or employment. The next lesson in concentration he gives us is to repeat the word often, to impress it upon the mind, and then to declare each day that concentration is mine, will aid still farther in the acquisition of this great and important quality. Meanwhile, since we can be so fortunate as to always surround ourselves with others who have acquired it, the student of the higher philosophy must learn to be serene and self-poised when he encounters life's pygmy worries. He must carry his religion into his bedroom and his office, and not forget it utterly when he loses his collar button or misses his car or finds his office boy has taken a parcel to the wrong address. To build character necessitates a constant watch upon ourselves. The new thought is not a religion of Sundays, but of every day. Destiny. Never say that you wish your situation were different. Never wish you had some other person's life or troubles or worries. Accept your own as a working basis, the best for you. Then go ahead and change whatever displeases you. Remember, you are the maker and molder of your own destiny. You do not recall the fact, but you brought about the present conditions of your destiny in former incarnations. Even if you do not believe this, you must acknowledge that you are here, and that the situation in which you find yourself seems to be inevitable for the present. But it is not inevitable for the future, unless you lie down in the furrow and whine and wish you were a millionaire or a genius and rail at the partiality of Providence. There is no partiality in the universe. The whole scheme is well balanced. If you were allowed to change lots with anyone in the face of the earth, you would complain and find fault in a short time. One of our best-known millionaires, born to opulence, complains that he has been robbed of the privilege of making his own fortune. He is no happier than you. His confession betrays his weakness of character, just as your ripening and fault-finding betrays yours. The real worthwhile character thanks God for its destiny and says, I will show the world what I can do with my life. Not long ago, there was a great trotting race at Brighton Beach. The blind conqueror, Rhythmic, won 5 consecutive races. Think of it. He did not, like a mortal man, shrink back and say, I am blind. That is a terrible destiny. I am cursed with God. I will not try to win the race. He just trusted the hand of the master at the reins, did his best, and won the honors of the season. We are all blind racers on the track of earth. The king, the millionaire, the statesman, the lawmaker, the beggar, the laborer, the cripple, we are all in the dark. The only thing is to trust the hand of the master and do our best. Believe your position is the right starting point for you, merely the starting point. It is the shapeless block of stone from which you are to fashion the perfect statue. Or it is the mere mud from which you are to mold the clay image, and later that is to be put into enduring marble. What is uglier or more unattractive than mud? Yet think of the glorious conceptions which it imprisons. Take the mud of your present environment and thank God for it, and make that image of the future you desire. You can do it. You must do it. You will do it. Sympathy. Are you of a sympathetic nature? If so, do not let your sympathies help to add to the world's miseries. That may seem a strange expression, but it can be explained if you will listen. Much of the misery in the world is the result of imagination. All of it is the result of selfishness and ignorance. But hundreds and thousands of people believe themselves sick, sorrowful, and poverty-stricken, who would be well, glad, and prosperous if they only thought themselves so. Every time you pour out your sympathy upon these self-made sufferers, you add to their burden of wrong thought and make it just so much more difficult for them to rise out of their troubles. I do not believe all the misfortune in the world is caused by wrong thinking in this life, or can be done away with by right thinking. The 3-year-old child who toddles in front of a trolley car and loses a leg, while the tired mother is bending over the washtub to keep the wolf of a hunger at bay, cannot be blamed for wrong thinking as the cause of its trouble. Neither can the deaf mute or the child born blind or deformed. We must go farther back, to former lives, to find the first cause of such misfortunes. No new thought, no amount of optimistic theology or philosophy can restore the child's leg, or ears, or eyes. It is utter nonsense to say that miracles like these can be performed. There are scores of individuals whom we meet handicapped in life's race by such dire calamities that we spontaneously pour forth our sympathy. But even to these, it were kinder and wiser to give diverting thoughts and a new outlook, and to open up avenues for pleasure and entertainment and profit in place of tears and condolence. Sympathy without alleviating actions to a sufferer is like a cloud without rain to the parched earth. But the great majority of people whom we encounter are making their own crosses, and we who offer them sympathy and condolence are but adding to the burden's weight. I do not recommend coldness, indifference, or ridicule as a substitute for sympathy. But instead of leading the sick man out to tell you the details of his illness and to describe all his symptoms, while your own body responds with sympathetic aches and pains as you listen, it is kinder to divert his attention to some cheerful and merry topic, or to refer to some case like his own which resulted in perfect restoration to health. Instead of going down into his underground cave of depression, bring him out into the wholesome sunlight of your own healthful state, even if for a moment only, and impress upon his mind that health belongs to him and must return to him. To the man in business trouble, the same advice applies. Tell him you're sorry for him, but do not take on his despondency to prove it. Talk of the future and all the possibilities it holds for a determined man or woman. Make him laugh. Speak of trouble as the gymnasium where our moral muscles are developed. Answer him that everything he desires is his if he will be persistent and determined in demanding his own. If you put force in your words, you will leave an impression. Do not go away from the house of trouble in tears, but leave the troubled ones you called upon smiling as you depart. That is true sympathy. The breath. A man reproved me for my interest in new thought creeds. The old religion I learned at my mother's knee is good enough for me, he said. It is good enough for anybody. Yet this man's mother had always enjoyed poor health, as the old lady expressed it, and the man himself was forever talking of his diseases, his ill luck, his poverty, which he said he had been enabled to endure only through the sustaining power of the religion learned at his mother's knee. It would be difficult to convince the man that, had his mother taught him the creed of the new religion, he could have changed all these unfortunate conditions. Lifelong ill health would have been impossible for his mother or for him. The old-fashioned religion allowed and still allows a human being to breathe like a canary bird. Little children go to Sunday school all their young lives and grow up to be devout church members and never hear one word about the importance of sleep breathing. Possibly you may think breathing lessons belong to physical culture and have no place in religious teachings. There is where you err. In order to develop your whole being, you must learn how to control body and mind through the spirit. Thousands of years ago, men who gave their entire lives to the study of these things learned the great importance of deep breathing as an aid to religious meditation. By this practice, systematically observed, the body is calmed, the mind is brought into subjection, and the spirit rises into control. And in addition, absolute health is achieved. A large portion of our physical ailments result from unused lung cells and consequent imperfect circulation of the blood. Fill the lungs full, every cell, with fresh air 2 or 3 times daily, and do not overload the digestive organs, and sickness will fly away to the dark regions where it belongs. At least 10 minutes morning and night should be given to the breathing exercises. Sit upright in a comfortable chair, alone, facing the east in the morning and the west at night, because great magnetic forces comes from the direction of the sun. Have a window or a door opening to the outer air. Place your hands lightly on your knees and close your eyes and mouth. Leave your spine free, not touching the chair. Wear no compressing garments or bands. Inflate the chest and abdominal regions as you inhale deep breaths through the nostrils while counting 7 slowly. Exhale while you count 7. Repeat this exercise 7 times. Think as you inhale of whatever qualities you would like to possess and believe that you are inhaling them. Select 7 qualities: love, health, wisdom, usefulness, power to do good, success, opulence. We'll cover the average human desires. The very unworldly will substitute spiritual knowledge for opulence. Fill your mind with the idea that you are drawing in these qualities with your breaths and exhaling all that is weak or unworthy. After a few moments, you will be conscious of a security and peace, new and uplifting. And after a few weeks of steady, persistent practice of these exercises, you will find life growing more beautiful to you, and your strength will be increased tenfold, both physically and spiritually. Generosity. Have you ever observed how invariably your last dollar is restored to you, with additions, when you have given it for some worthy purpose? Even if the purpose did not prove to be a worthy one yet, if you thought it so and gave your last dollar with spontaneous sympathy and goodwill, you were not long left penniless. Money is much like a man. If you do not hold it too jealously, it returns to you the more readily. Never hesitate to give aid where you feel there is sore and pressing need, for fear you will be left in want yourself. You will not be. This does not mean that indiscriminate charity is commendable. It does not mean that you should lend money to everyone who asks, or lift and carry the burdens of everyone who is ready to lean upon you. It is as wrong to encourage the man addicted to the vice of borrowing as the one with the vice of alcohol or drugs. One depends upon his acquaintances to tide him over hard places instead of upon his own strength of character, and the other depends upon stimulants for the same purpose. The too ready lender is almost as great an evil to humanity as rum or opium, since he too helps a man to kill his own better nature and destroy his self-respect. If you were able and willing to pay rents of all the poor people you know and clothe their children, you would soon produce a condition of settled pauperism among them. Large and frequent favors of a financial nature are an injury to anyone, even if it is your son or brother. Let no man lean on anyone save God and his own divine self. But little helps, when they are unexpected, arouse hope and awaken new faith and new ambition in a discouraged soul. Look about you for such souls: the worn and weary father of a brood of hungry children, the widow struggling with adverse fate in an effort to clothe and educate a child, the tired shop girl who uses all her earnings to sustain her parents, the ambitious boy or girl eager for a chance in life, and the poor cripple or invalid seeking health. You will find them all about you. Do not be afraid to use a dollar here or there to give those worthy ones a happy surprise, no matter how poor you are. It is an insult to the opulent Creator to suppose you will suffer want and poverty if you help those who are in temporary misfortune. You will not. Oftentimes we read and hear of the open-handed, generous man who helped everybody and who never refused to aid a needy brother, and who ended his life in penury because of his generosity. Never believe these tales until you investigate them. Invariably, you will find not generosity but extravagance and utter lack of forethought caused the man's financial ruin. I recall a gifted young woman who gave freely to all who asked for assistance and who died a lingering death as a charity patient in a hospital. Yet this woman had expended $10 on foolish and rapid living where she gave one in charity. It was her wasteful extravagance, not her open heart of sympathy, which made her a pauper. It has been my observation that dollars planted in the soil of benevolence grow into harvest of prosperity. The man who is not afraid to use his small means to assist others need not fear poverty. Woman's opportunity. The greatest opportunity to better the world which can come to any woman is through the experience of maternity. The power of prenatal influence which a mother possesses is awe-inspiring to realize. It has been said upon excellent authority that Napoleon's mother read Roman history with absorbing interest during the months preceding his birth. Think of the nations and the centuries influenced by that woman's mental concentration. The geography of the world was changed by her power of focused thought. In all probability, Napoleon's mother did not know what she was doing. She was not conscious of the destiny her mind was shaping for her unborn child, nor of the law governing such conditions. Women have been strangely ignorant of this vital truth. Until recent years, it has not been considered a proper theme for tongue or pen, and today the great majority of young women marry absolutely uninformed upon the subject of prenatal influence. Men are equally oblivious of any knowledge regarding the matter, and consequently make no special effort to keep the expectant mother of their offspring happy, hopeful, or free of anxiety and worry during this period. Often they do not strive to aid them in their own attempts to bestow a desirable temperament upon the unborn child, but heedlessly and needlessly aggravate or grieve the mind which is stamping its impress upon an unborn soul. It is just here that the new thought can perform its greatest miracles of good. Even the woman who has not been enlightened upon the law of anti-birth influence will, if a true disciple of the religion of right living, bring healthy and helpful children into the world, because her normal state of mind will be inclusive of those three qualities, and her continued and repeated assertions of her own divine nature will shape the brain of her child in optimistic and reverential mold. There is the old law of the continual falling of the drop of water upon the stone to be verified in the spiritual plane. Continual assertions of a mother that her child will be all that she desires it to be will wear away the stone of inherited tendencies and bring into physical being a malleable nature wholly amenable to the after influences and efforts she may bring to bear upon it. It is a tremendous responsibility which rests upon the woman who knows she is to be a mother of a human being. 100 ancestors may have contributed certain qualities to that invisible and formless atom, which contains an immortal soul. Yet the mother's mind has the power to remake and rebuild all those characteristics and to place over them for her own dominating impulse, whether for good or ill. Surely, if success in the arts or the sciences is worthy of years of devoted attention and interested effort, the molding of a noble human being is worth 8 or 9 months of concentrated thought and unflagging zeal of purpose. Every expectant mother should set herself about the important business God has entrusted her with, unafraid and confident of her divine mission. She should direct her mind into wholesome and optimistic channels. She should read inspiring books and think loving and large thoughts. She should pray and aspire, and always should she carry in her mind the ideal of the child she would mother and command from the great source of all opulence, the qualities she would desire to perpetuate. And they will be given. Balance. Avoid all strained and abstruse language when conversing with people who may not have entered this realm of thought. Do not allow anyone to think of you as a lunatic or a crank unnecessarily. Of course, there are people in the world who consider everyone a lunatic, who holds an opinion differing from their own. But it can do you or your philosophy no good to thrust its most difficult faces before the minds of the unawakened by vague and high-flown expressions. I once chanced to call upon a lady who had, quite unknown to me, entered upon the study of Christian Science. She remarked to me, almost as soon as the greetings were exchanged, "I had a claim to meet for 3 days this week, but I have come through it and am victorious." I suppose the lady referred to some business matter, perhaps a legal affair, and waited an explanation. After considerable rambling conversation, I managed to grasp the fact that the woman had been sick in the house 3 days, but now was well. She considered her illness a mere claim her mortal mind had made, which she had to meet and combat. All this sort of talk is very ridiculous. We need not talk about every ailment which attacks us as we move along towards the condition of perfect health which belongs to us. But if we do speak of indisposition, let us use common sense language. What we want to realize is that we are in the body, but that the spirit can't control bodily conditions if we give it the ascendancy to the extent of keeping us well, moral, useful, and comfortable even in the midst of sickness, vice, indolence, and poverty. We can rise above these false elements and subjugate them. Meanwhile, we cannot live without food, clothes, and money. Despise and ignore these vulgar things as we may assume to do. We yet must have them. It brings only ridicule upon ourselves and our ideas to make this pretense of despising the necessities of life. To make them secondary in our thoughts to spiritual knowledge is right and wise, but this is better illustrated by our lives and conduct than by our words. We have now reached the end of the last chapters and also the end of the reading of the book titled The Heart of the New Thought by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. I hope you've enjoyed this. Before you head out, hit that like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you liked about this book, and subscribe to the channel. Be blessed.